Tuesday, March 4th, 2013. Excited to be here. Before I
I
meet the
think that
line,
one's harder.
is
It's more
anyone
like a
else pumped
set
up
than this
about
one.
life
This
today?
is more like a
Go ahead and scream out if you're excited today.
Yay! Happy Monday, everybody! Hey, what do you think? You need another awesome day.
Oh, baby, that excites me. Guys, I'm so excited to be here today. So excited to be starting my week, starting my day, starting my life off with each of you, plugging into power, plugging into, entrepreneurs that are dialing in every day for one purpose, and that is to shape and sculpt and mold and just hone in, tune in to the mindset of the entrepreneur. Tune in to those sets of beliefs. Tune into those principles. Tune into those truths that make all the difference, that cause you to be super successful in your business no matter what you're doing, no matter what strategy you're engaging in, no matter what business you're engaging in, no matter what you're doing. If you have the mindset of the entrepreneur, if you have the Think and Grow Rich philosophy embedded deep within your psyche, if you have taken time to study and study and study and re-study to where you what starts to happen is you formulate this mental blueprint. And I was thinking about this morning. I read a book one time. I've talked about it from time to time. It's called How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. And it's so fascinating. You go through these books and you don't know, when the principles are going to come back to you. You don't know when you're going to need them, but they do. When you take time putting good stuff in your brain, just at the right time when you need it, those ideas will be there to serve you. So I was thinking about this morning, this mental blueprint, and I was thinking about how this works, and I thought back to this book called How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. And one of the fascinating things in this book that Mortimer Adler wrote as he was talking about, and I think the term, I can't remember for sure if this is the right term or not, but I think it was called syntopical reading. And basically what that is where you have read a number of books on a similar topic or on the same subject, and you read a number of different authors, and what starts to happen is you start to be able to relate the ideas from book to book to book to book, from author to author to author to author, and you start to digest these things that each of the authors are saying, even to the point where sometimes when you do this, you actually come to new conclusions and new insights, but it comes from being able to digest different pieces of information. And I was thinking about how this relates to us and what we're doing on this call. And I wanted to just share a couple of ideas along this particular line of thought, and then we'll jump into the content of Science of Getting Rich. One of the other things that Mortimer Adler talks about in that book, How to Read a Book, is he talks about how books are composed of flesh and bones. Flesh and bones. And he talks about how the structure of a book is like the skeleton. And then, basically, when you open up a book and you look at the way that it's organized, the chapters, the topics, this is the skeleton of the book. The main ideas, this is the skeleton of the book. And then what the author does is the author goes through and puts flesh on the skeleton, which is, telling stories and research and all the different stuff to kind of back up this author's idea. And the reason I'm thinking about this is because as we continue to develop our mindset, because that's why we're here, to develop the mindset of an entrepreneur, what starts to happen if you engage in this process consistently over time. Now, I've been getting on this call now for almost 3 years, and I'm just, it could probably happen sooner for people. For some reason, it's just starting to happen for me, where I'm starting to look around and I listen to different people and I see the different flesh of experiences and of stories. And I'm able to take that and go to my mental blueprint and say, oh, yeah, Napoleon Hill talks about this in chapter 4, auto-suggestion or decision or specialized knowledge. See, over time, you start to develop this mental blueprint to where you can see the flesh happening in your life, and then you can go to this mental blueprint and say, yes, that fits, or no, that doesn't fit. It was like this morning when I went into the gym, and I'll tell you that one of the reasons I love the gym that I go to is because usually there's nobody there but me. So I go in and there's 2 treadmills in there, and I go get on the treadmill and I have my run, and I just really enjoy being in there by myself. Well, I don't know what Matt, the owner of the gym, is doing. He must be ramping up his marketing. But this morning I went in there and the thing was jam-packed, and I walk in there and there's people everywhere, and the 2 treadmills are full, and I said to myself, let's see, I want to do some cardio today. The treadmills are full. What should I do? And I had the opportunity to be bummed out about that and to be kind of put out about that, but I didn't. I said, well, what can I do about it? And I went and I looked upstairs, and I found out that there was this little machine called an elliptical that many of you are probably familiar with. And I jump on the elliptical, and it's got the deals with your arms that go back and forth and your legs. And so I hop on that thing and run for 30 minutes, or, I don't know if you call it running. I exercise for 30 minutes on that elliptical. And while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about that simple experience that I just had in the gym. And I'm thinking about the idea that's presented in Think and Grow Rich, that with every setback, there is the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. And then I'm thinking about what I'm reading in The Law of Compensation by Ralph Waldo Emerson, how he talks about with every loss there is a gain. And I'm comparing these 2 ideas to the experience that I'm having in my life, this simple, ordinary experience of going into the gym, having a quote-unquote temporary setback and seeing that my treadmills were full. That could have set me back, right? That could have set me back. That could have been perceived as a setback. But then I go up on this elliptical, and I'm thinking about this experience, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to sweat like way worse than I usually do when I'm on the treadmill. And I start to realize that I'm getting a better workout than I usually do. It's almost like I jump in the pool and I get out. I mean, my body's sweating and my heart's pumping, and I'm feeling good, and I'm thinking, seeming setback, my treadmill is full. Now I'm on this elliptical. I'm getting a better workout, number 1. And number 2, I'm recognizing a piece of flesh that I can put on this skeleton of this idea that with every setback there is the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. I'm getting this. So for me, that little experience was an example from my life of this idea in my mental blueprint that I've been working on for the last 3 years now, diligently every single day. And that's why we get on this call every day, or that's at least one of the reasons. It's to formulate a mental blueprint, formulate that blueprint which is in harmony with the way that a successful, abundant-minded entrepreneur thinks. And that's the goal, that's the pure focus, that's the pure intention. That's why we come to this call every day, is to hone in and tune that mental blueprint. Get that skeleton down so that when we see experiences in our lives that can support that mental blueprint, we grab those little pieces of flesh and we put it on the skeleton. And when we see things that are out of harmony with that mental blueprint, we're instantly able to recognize that, and we can say, no, that doesn't fit on my skeleton. I've got the mental blueprint. I've got a good idea of how this stuff works. I'm not going to accept that idea. I'm not going to accept that idea from this person who maybe hasn't come to the conclusions that they need to come to. There's the person trying to give me this idea. No, I don't have to accept that. I can reject that, and that does not have to go in my mental blueprint because I now have studied for a period of time, and I know what the blueprint looks like of how a successful entrepreneur thinks. And, that's one of the reasons that I love the book Think and Grow Rich, and that's one of the reasons that no matter what I'm reading in my life, every day. Usually on this call, we're going through Think and Grow Rich. Do I read other books? Yeah, but I read them in the evening time or maybe in my morning study after I get off the call. But every day I'm going through Think and Grow Rich. Why is that? Why is it that some people come and say, Paul, can you give me a book list to read? Well, sure, I can give you a book list to read, but here's one of the most important things I think you can do is take the book Think and Grow Rich and take these books that we study on this call and study them and study them and study them and study them, and don't stop. And why is that? Because as near as I can tell, and as near as many of the successful people that I've listened to can tell, people like Anthony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Robert Allen, the list goes on and on. Art Williams, I heard the other day, and I mentioned Think and Grow Rich. As near as we can tell, as near as I can tell, Think and Grow Rich is the book that lays out the best and most complete blueprint, the best and most complete skeleton, the best and most complete mental picture of success, so that we can get that blueprint in our mind, and then we can start to look around for experiences in our own lives and have experiences in our own life that support, that mental blueprint. So that's one of the reasons I think we should, be lifelong students of this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm telling you, if you're not experiencing this yet, you will experience this if you stay the course, if you do not quit, if you commit to being a lifelong student of success. You'll start to notice that this puzzle starts to form in your mind, and you see the pieces going in, and then you listen to different people, and you see, oh yeah, I see that piece. It fits right in here. I'll give you a couple other examples, then we'll jump into the reading for today. Last night, I'm driving home from my parents' house. I took the kids, three of my boys, and we went and had a good time with Grandpa and Grandma, and we're driving home, and my phone rings, and I look down, and it's Doc Fran, a guy we love. He gets on this call every day. He's a seasoned professional in the home business industry, has earned millions of dollars over his career, and he gets on this call every single day. Why do you think that is? I'm kind of curious. Someone who's earned millions of dollars, and he's not the only one. I got an email from a guy last week who says, Paul, I have 2 commas in my bank account, and I need that. He says, quote, I need this call, because he's working on a traditional business, and he's working on taking his business to billion-dollar status. He's already got a business very, very successful, but he wants to take that family business that he's into a billion. Why would it be that these 2 people get on this call every day? I wonder why that would be. Well, I got an insight last night when Doc Fran called me, and he was so excited to call me and tell me that he just experienced a business miracle in his life. He just experienced having a vision of where he wanted to be by the end of yesterday or by the end of last month. I can't remember which. By the end of the last couple of days, he had a vision of where he wanted to be. He was fairly close, but a substantial amount of volume away from hitting his goal. But he held to the vision. He kept the faith. He kept the gratitude, and he kept working with that grateful faith that he was going to hit that goal. And some of his team members called him up. They called a conference call. They say, hey, we're all going to get together. We're going to rally behind Doc, and we're going to help him get over the hump. And you know what? He achieved the goal. And he called me last night, and he was so excited about that. And Doc and I, we're not working in the same business right now. We're on different roads. We're on different paths as far as our specific entrepreneurial journey is concerned. But he called me to share that experience of success with me, and he talked about how it was a perfect example, Paul, of how we talk about every day on this call, to hold to your faith, to hold to your vision, and to work every day with that grateful faith that that vision is going to be realized. And then all of a sudden miracles happen. And he was so excited to share that with me, and I was so excited to share in that celebration of success. Do I directly profit from that in my bank account? Well, not necessarily from that specific experience, but you know what? I do profit from it, because it's another story. It's another leg under my table of belief that causes me to believe that miracles do happen when we get this mental blueprint down. And, do we ever get to a point where we've got it down and we know everything? Well, I'll tell you, Doc Fran, been in the business many years, and he's still getting on this call. There's got to be something there for him to learn. This other friend that gets on this call every day has 2 commas in his bank account. He gets on here, must be still something to learn. And I had a little story yesterday, a little experience I'll share with everyone, just to kind of cap off the opening statements of this call, with the idea that, we're working on this mental blueprint, and we every day we tweak it and we fine-tune it a little bit, and we're listening to different people who are successful, and we're listening to their stories, and we're looking for the skeleton. That's the other point I really wanted to make. When you're listening to people, when you're listening to their stories, when you're reading books, look for the skeleton. Yes, hear the story. Let the story touch you. Let the story inspire you. Let the story make you smile. But look for the skeleton. Look for that principle that underlies the story. Look for that, because that's really going to help you piece together this mental blueprint. So anyway, we're working on this mental blueprint every day. We get on this call every day to formulate that mental blueprint. Do we ever know everything? One quick little story. Yesterday, we were getting ready for church, and or maybe it was the day before, I can't remember. My 6-year-old son Caden, he was watching TV, and he was like right up next to the TV. And I said to my 6-year-old, I said, Caden, back away from the TV. And this is a common conversation that we have in our household with 4 boys. Man, if I had a nickel for every time my wife or myself told my kids to back away from the TV because it was going to ruin their eyes, right? And that's what I told him yesterday. I said, Caden, back away from the TV. Caden, back away from the TV. He says, why, Dad? He finally backs away. He says, why, Dad? I said, because it might hurt your eyes. And he says, no, it won't. And I said, Caden, do you have a degree in, or have you been to eye doctor school? Do you know that this getting close to TV is not going to hurt your eyes? And he says, no. Have you, Dad? And I said, well, no, as a matter of fact, I haven't. He's like, well, do you know? I said, well, no, you're right. Let's get on the internet. Let's find out, Caden. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, I'm going to get on the internet and prove my son wrong. And imagine my surprise when I pop on the internet, and we haven't researched this thoroughly. I'll let you know that. But the first 3, 4, 5 search results on Google for this topic said, no, this is a myth. There's never been any documented experience where someone's eyes have been damaged by being too close to the TV. And so I went out to my 6-year-old son, and I said, Caden, you were right. And he gets his smile, and he starts laughing, and we go tell his mom. And for me, that was a great example that we always need to be willing to open our minds and maybe even challenge some existing beliefs that we might have after we've given them some good thought. Sometimes I wonder, do we ever want to get to a point where we have this call and nobody's ever disagreeing with anybody, or nobody's ever disagreeing with the author, and my thought on that is, healthy discussion is really good because it causes us to, maybe think, use our minds a little bit more, research ideas a little bit more. So I think healthy discussion is good. The one thing I will say is when we do come on this call, and let's say we're going to come on this call and maybe challenge somebody's idea or challenge the author's idea. The one thing I will say is we better have done our homework if we're ever going to do that. And the reason I say that is because I know that everyone on this call is doing their homework. I know that everyone on this call every day is reading the books, is listening to the audios. I know that everyone on this call every day is moving forward in the path of the entrepreneur. So if ever someone has the inclination to come out and challenge an idea stated by one of the authors that we study, or maybe challenge an idea stated by one of the wealthy-minded people who have documentation in their lives to show how a wealthy person thinks, if you ever want to challenge one of those people, I'd say, hey, challenge is good, healthy discussion is good. However, you better have done your homework, and you better have good thinking to back up that challenge of that mental mental blueprint that has been formed by people like Dr. Napoleon Hill after 25 years of research, where he's studied all the flesh from all the lives of the different people, and he's formed that skeleton. And as we every day come to this call to formulate that skeleton, to formulate that better that mental blueprint, better have well researched some of those ideas if you're going to challenge them, because I'll tell you what, we on this call, we're doing our homework every day, and I'm so excited because I like I said on the call last week, I feel like there's this new brain being formed, and this new brain that's coming from this mastermind is it's structured so well in alignment with that mental blueprint. And it's because we're studying those who have gone before and have done so much of the work so that we don't have to do the work. All we have to do is get the idea of the mental blueprint that they're giving us, and then we get to go out in the marketplace and we get to go out in our lives and we get to verify it, because we get to see little stories, little experiences happen in our lives that verify that that mental blueprint that has been laid down for us, that blueprint of success, is true, is accurate, will produce the results that we want to have produced in our lives. So with that, my friends, thank you for being patient and listening to those opening thoughts that I had. I surely appreciate it. We're going to jump into Chapter 13, Getting into the Right Business by Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, as we continue to hone in and try to refine this picture we have in our brains of, the blueprint of success and develop that mindset of an entrepreneur. This is entitled Getting into the Right Business. And if you don't have a copy, feel free to go to our website, thinkandgrowrichaudios.com. Scroll down to the bottom. There's a link that says free downloads. You can grab yourself a free copy of this book if you're new to the call. So here we go. Success in any particular business depends, for one thing, upon your possessing in a well-developed state the faculties required in that business. Without good musical faculty, no one can succeed as a teacher of music. Without well-developed mechanical faculties, no one can achieve great success in any of the mechanical trades. Without tact and the commercial faculties, no one can succeed in mercantile pursuits. But to possess in a well-developed state the faculties required in your particular vocation does not ensure getting rich. There are musicians who have remarkable talent and who yet remain poor. There are blacksmiths, carpenters, and so on who have excellent mechanical ability but who do not get rich. And there are merchants with good faculties for dealing with people who nevertheless fail. The different faculties are tools. It is essential to have good tools, but it is also essential that the tools should be used in the right way. One man can take a sharp saw, a square, a good plane, and so on, and build a handsome article of furniture. Another man can take the same tools and set to work to duplicate the article, but his production will be a botch. He does not know how to use good tools in a successful way. The various faculties of your mind are the tools with which you must do the work, which is to make you rich. So it will be easier for you to succeed if you get into a business for which you are well equipped with mental tools. Generally speaking, you will do best in that business which will use your strongest faculties, the one for which you are naturally best fitted. But there are limitations to this statement also. No one should regard his vocation as being irrevocably fixed by the tendencies with which he was born. You can get rich in any business, for if you have not the right talent, you can develop that talent. It merely means that you will have to make your tools as you go along, instead of confining yourself to the use of those with which you were born. It will be easier for you to succeed in a vocation for which you already have the talents in a well-developed state, but you can succeed in any vocation, for you can develop any rudimentary talent, and there is no talent of which you have not at least the rudiment. You will get rich most easily in terms of effort if you do that for which you are best fitted, but you will get rich most satisfactorily if you do that which you want to do. Doing what you want to do is life, and there is no real satisfaction in living if we are compelled to be forever doing something which we do not like to do and can never do what we want to do. And it is certain that you can do what you want to do. The desire to do it is proof that you have within you the power which can do it. Desire is a manifestation of power. The desire to play music is the power which can play music, seeking expression and development. The desire to invent mechanical devices is the mechanical talent seeking expression and development. Where there is no power, either developed or undeveloped, to do a thing, there is never any desire to do that thing. And where there is strong desire to do a thing, it is certain proof that the power to do it is strong and only requires to be developed and applied in the right way. All other things being equal, it is best to select the business for which you have the best developed talent. But if you have a strong desire to engage in any particular line of work, you should select that work as the ultimate end at which you aim. You can do what you want to do, and it is your right and privilege to follow the business or avocation which will be most congenial and pleasant. You are not obliged to do what you do not like to do, and should not do it except as a means to bring you to do the doing of the thing you want to do. If there are past mistakes whose consequences have placed you in an undesirable business or environment, you may be obliged for some time to do what you do not like to do. But you can make the doing of it pleasant by knowing that it is making it possible for you to come to the doing of what you want to do. If you feel that you are not in the right vocation, do not act too hastily in trying to get into another one. The best way generally to change business or environment is by growth. Do not be afraid to make a sudden and radical change if the opportunity is presented and you feel after careful consideration that it is the right opportunity, but never take sudden or radical action when you are in doubt as to the wisdom of doing so. There is never any hurry on the creative plane, and there is no lack of opportunity. When you get out of the competitive mind, you will understand that you never need to act hastily. No one else is going to beat you to the thing you want to do. There is enough for all. If one space is taken, another and a better one will be opened for you a little farther on. There is plenty of time. When you are in doubt, wait. Fall back on the contemplation of your vision and increase your faith and purpose. And by all means, in times of doubt and indecision, cultivate gratitude. A day or two spent in contemplating the vision of what you want and in earnest thanksgiving that you are getting it will bring your mind into such close relationship with the Supreme that you will make no mistake when you do act. There is a mind which knows all there is to know, and you can come into close unity with this mind by faith and the purpose to advance in life if you have deep gratitude. Mistakes come from acting hastily or from acting in fear or doubt or in forgetfulness of the right motive, which is more life to all and less to none. As you go on in a certain way, opportunities will come to you in an increasing number, and you will need to be very steady in your faith and purpose, and to keep in close touch with the Supreme Mind by reverent gratitude. Do all that you can do in a perfect manner every day, but do it without haste, worry, or fear. Go as fast as you can, but never hurry. Remember that in the moment you begin to hurry, you cease to be a creator and become a competitor. You drop back upon the old plane again. Whenever you find yourself hurrying, call a halt. Fix your attention on the mental image of the thing you want and begin to give thanks that you are getting it. The exercise of gratitude will never fail to strengthen your faith and renew your purpose. So I'll tell you, this is a great chapter. We've got a lot to talk about just in these 2 pages. I wanted to share just 2 points that stuck out to me as I went through this last night and this morning. The first part that stuck out to me is this idea of doing what you want to do and how that is real life. And we all have that privilege to do what we want to do. We have the privilege of living the life we want to live, engaging in the activities we want to engage in. And for me, the chord that this struck for me was, as it relates to the home business profession, is my dream is my dream and mine alone, and your dream is your dream. And the idea that came to me is, never let anyone else dictate what your dream should be, right? Because it's yours, and mine is mine. It's my choice to do what I want to do. When I first started in the home business profession, my dream was to earn $3,000 a month, and that was so exciting and so inspiring to me, and that's what I wanted to get to, and it was my dream. Well, what if someone else would have come along and says, hey, Paul, no, you need to go for this, or you need to go for that because of this, because of that. Well, I'm willing to accept those ideas, but you know what? My dream is my dream, and that's one of the things that I thought of when I was reading this, and just something that's important to remind each other of, because we hear lots of people talking about lots of different things all the time. It's your dream that matters. Let other people inspire you, but don't let other people dictate your dream and dictate how you should live your life. That's up to you. That's your choice. So that's one thought that I had. And then the other thought that I really liked is this idea that desire is proof that you have the power within you to do a thing. I've had this desire to learn how to play the acoustic guitar. And here in my office, I got this acoustic guitar sitting over there, and I've learned a few chords. But for the most part, that guitar sits there, and it stares at me every day. But I've got this desire in me to play it. And last night as I was reading this, I said, Paul, you've got the ability in you. You need to take advantage of it. You need to get after it. And it reminded me of my first year and couple years in network marketing, where I had the desire to do it. I had the desire to be successful and build residual income, but I was terrible at it. But I went to meetings, and I sat in meetings, and I listened to people speak from in the front of the room, and I went to conference calls, and I was no good at it, but I have the desire, and now 7-8 years later, I'm fairly successful in the home business profession, and I think back on that, and it's just an indication to me that desire that was in me 8 years ago was proof that I had the ability in me to do it. And I stuck with it, and I worked on it, and I developed it, and now I have a certain amount of success. So those two ideas I really liked, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this chapter and the content of the call today. So let's jump right into the mastermind portion of the call. And just want to remind everyone, do try to keep your thoughts, if you're going to come out, try to keep them to maybe one or two ideas, because we do have a lot of people who want to come out, so just in respect for the time. Star 6. Who's first?
Hey, Dana.
Yeah, good morning. Who's that?
Can you hear me, Paul?
Hey, I heard Dan first and then Melvin. Go ahead.
Gratitude. Oh, my God. What a great chapter you read, and I was just so enlightened by that. I just had to jump in and just thank you for all that you're doing on a consistent basis. Reach for the guitar, knowing that is just one of many tools that you have gratitude right in front of you to show for. And just thank you for the story, because you do learn so much from the youth that aren't, how should we say it, relentless. And therefore, we can get close to the TV, or we can do things when we realize that it just takes a little extra due diligence to determine the real answers. Thank you so much for sharing, Paul.
Oh, my pleasure, Dan. Appreciate those thoughts. Melvin, go ahead, sir.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
I sure can, loud and clear. You sound great.
The name of this chapter is Getting into the Right Business, and I just wanted to just say a little bit about that, because I've been in this industry for about 43 years now, and I've been in about, I would say, 100 of them myself, and what I find interesting, and I just want to comment this to a lot of people on the call, because the majority of people that call me to tell me about another business or program have not taken the time to find out about it or know it themselves. And one of the first things I'll ask the person is, tell me a little bit about it. And when they can't do that, I'm saying, this is unreal. How many people jump into something, never take any time to do their homework, looking for something for nothing, just think, I can make money, I can make money, and they're out there throwing this out to people, and they have not even taken time to know their business, to understand their business, to be sold on it themselves prior to sharing that with something else. So I suggest that each of us do that. Take time to know that business. The other thing, too, is for us to realize what we want to do and don't want to do, because there's people in businesses that they don't even like what they have to do in that business. If it comes to putting on demonstrations or meeting or and you can't do that or you don't want to do that, then once again that's the wrong business for you. So it is very, very true that there's a thing called basketball and there's a thing called there's a jockey in horse racing and the same guy who's on that basketball court who possibly won't go anywhere, you put him on a horse and he can go ahead and win the race. So if we understand that, many of us need to really give some thought to what we're doing and what we're involved with and how much we believe in it, because we could possibly move from that into one that is really suited for ourselves and become a winner. So I think this is an interesting chapter in terms of getting into the right business that we need to really give some thought to and recognize some of these things. With that, back to you, Paul.
Yeah, great thoughts, Melvin.
Hey,
really appreciate that.
Good morning, my friends. Paul, Mr. Hutchins, how are you?
Hey, Rick, good, man. You got beat today. I'm sorry, someone was right ahead of you. Who was that?
That's fantastic. That's fine.
That was actually me, John, but I would love to hear Rick first. So, Rick, please.
All right. Hey, thanks for the yield, my friend. Mr. Hutchins, how are you doing, sir?
Excellent. Thanks for asking, Rick.
That's fantastic. I wanted to touch really on the part where you mentioned about talent. Because a lot of times people can look at somebody and say, hey, they're good with people, they're this and that, they've had sales skills, sales experience, they're born with certain attributes, certain characteristics. But I remember John Maxwell was giving a private talk, and he addressed everyone there, and he was talking about writing a book because I think the title was Talent is Never Enough. I hadn't seen or read that book, but what he really talked about was, you've seen a lot of people with talents and never.
Hey, Rick, I apologize. We're getting some feedback. Rick, *6, just you, buddy. Come back. Sorry about that.
Okay, yes. And so we're talking about we've seen people with talent who's never really amounted to anything. So what he talked about was, you don't need talent to have discipline. You don't need talent to be consistent. These are the things. You don't need talent to have desire, long-term planning, et cetera, to delay your gratification. You develop those based on habits. You acquire good habits and the principles. You don't need talent to apply the principles that found in this book. And I would like to suggest a little thing where you can just entertain the idea where you've seen people in relationships who, they were never their ideal mate. But as time goes on, they learn to love one another. And so, just the standard things that you may have come across as you're growing up, but when in your experience, you've learned to love things that you come about that, hey, look, I was forced to get into business because I was laid off and this, that, and the other. You get into business you might not have been suited for, but you don't need these talents to provide this type of service. And so you got to banish the idea that you were never born to do this. You can cut yourself out to be a fine entrepreneur. And that's my point today, Mr. Hutchins, and everyone, including Mr. Hutchins, have a day filled with opulence.
Love it, Rick. Thank you. John, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Think and Grow Rich family. Oh, my gosh. You know what? If you guys could just feel 1/10 of what I feel right now, it would just blow your mind. Right now, I am so incredibly happy, so incredibly grateful because of where I am at this very moment. I'm again yet in my backyard. I'm taking a look at my garden, where quite frankly we spent the whole day yesterday weeding and hoeing and on my knees, and I'm just really putting in some real work. I mean, I'm really proud of this. And see, the really cool thing about this is that we literally spent the whole day there. We literally spent the whole day. And yet I was still able to bring on 4 people into my business yesterday, a new personal best, while I was working most of the day in my garden. Now, this goes directly to what it is that we are studying today, having desire. Because if my desire would not have been as great as it is and as it has been in the first 2 years of my home-based business career, where I literally made no money, I literally made $0 in 2 years. You know, it is what it is. But I would have quit. I would have quit. But I didn't, because I had that desire. I didn't have the skill set, and I sure as heck did not have the personal mindset, but I had the desire. I had the determination, which actually brings me to the main point that I am going to make right here. And this is a quote. This is a quote that quite frankly, this quote has gotten me through a lot of really tough times in my business career and in my life. It's actually something that I have on top of my desk. It's something that I wholeheartedly believe in. And it reads, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. If you want it, and you know that this is an all-consuming desire. You know, I used to go to bed at night after having traveled 40 miles to the meeting, spent an hour or two after the meeting, you know, just trying to pick up some gold nuggets from the teachers there, from the people that were actually making it, and then another 40 miles back, literally 80 miles to 100 miles every Thursday night, just hoping and praying and quite frankly on a hope and a dream that I would make it somehow, some way. I used to hit up people in parking lots. Hit up people in parking lots, at gas stations, at grocery stores, you know, at bookstores. I'd be the guy over there at Barnes and Nobles with my business cards, putting them into book after book after book after book for a cheap way to generate leads. I was the guy with the window decal, and I actually convinced someone else to put it on her car too. But the bottom line is that I found 1,000 different ways how to not make this business work. Literally. Paid for leads, cold called leads, people chewed me out. I mean, just brutal stuff. People calling me evil. And it was all worth it. It was all worth it. It was all worth it 10,000 times. And what you'll find is that with a lot of the top leaders in the industry is that they all have a horror story. They all have the struggle. It's like it's almost a requisite part of the developmental process that you go through the fire, that the universe puts you through the fire to mold you. It tests you. It challenges you to become more than who you are today, to mold you into a champion, so that your life and that your actions can be an inspiration to others. So for those of us who are on the call today, who are in the fire right now, the thing that I want to say to you is hold fast. You know, take action daily. Taking action on a daily basis increases your faith. When you increase your faith, your inner aura changes. Who you are on an inner basis changes, and people become attracted to you because they see that you're dedicated, because they see that you're focused, because they see that you are the person that can help them get what they want. That's really key. Be grateful. Be incredibly grateful for the tough times, because it makes you more powerful. it allows you to connect with more people. Just be grateful. Hold fast to your dream. Hold fast to your desires. Cultivate that desire. Be on this call every day. This call, I thank the Lord, and I sincerely mean this. I know that you guys have heard me say this before, but this call right here, right now, was a turning point for me. Commit to 90 days on this call. Do the readings. Do everything that you're supposed to be doing. In 90 days from now, your business and yourself, you will be a better, different person, and you will create magic, and people will see it, and they will want to join you. Back to you, Paul.
Amen, Brother John. Appreciate those thoughts, man. You're awesome. Star 6, who's next?
Hey there,
this
morning,
is Cater from Florida. I
Yes,
am so
I heard
excited
Cater.
this morning. Yeah, it's Cater.
Go ahead, Cater. Yeah, good morning, man.
I'm so excited this morning. I just love this call. Appreciate what John Chapman just shared. And Paul, it's like every time before I come to this call, for some reason, I always have a connection with Paul or whatever you're going to talk or say. This morning, it's like you really was touching me with the blueprint. With the blueprint you was talking about, with the blueprint of the mind, how your mental blueprint is going to start affecting the part of your success. And being on this call is really changing my life. And when you start studying, this stuff is just going to go into your mind. The stuff you're inculcating into your brain is just going to be part of your life where you can't even take it out. You would be talking to regular people. They would not understand. They would go, what are you talking about? What are you thinking? What are you saying? I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and I told her, you know what? And she went to school. She graduated, everything. And I'm like, and she's telling me how she's struggling right now, how things are not going too well. And I told her, you know what? Get an education. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And I remember it's just like those things are coming out just vitally because they are part of your mind, because your mind has been restructured. They're part of your brain because your brain being restructured. And being what John Chapman was saying is that you need the struggle. Because sometimes some people say, well, show me the money. I want the money right now. No, you want the story. Show me your story. Because sometimes through the struggle, you cannot see your stories being shaped, but your story is being shaped in front of your eyes, and you cannot see it. You have to go through the struggle, because what are you going to tell somebody when they come in and they're struggling? What are you going to tell someone when they come in if everything was handed to you in a silver platter? You cannot even tell them to stay in because you don't know what to say. You don't know what to tell them. So you have to go through the struggle. If you stay around long enough, things will happen. I remember when I first came into this industry, listening to some leaders and what they were saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I'm like, what the hell? Come on, I want to learn, and you're telling me the student want to learn. You can't wait. If the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I could not understand these things. But as I'm getting ready, as I'm shaping my mind, as I'm going through the fire, as I'm staying consistent, as I'm going after my goal, as I'm going after my dream, and other people's following, as I start paying attention to myself and investing inside of myself and start growing, so you start getting the people that you need in your life. They will come around as they start seeing, and the universe start making sense, and God start making way. So anybody on this call right now, like John said, wherever you are right now in your business, I don't know, but I want to encourage you. Do not quit. Do not give up. Have the dream. We all been there. I've listened to Paul Hutchins' story. Been there for over 7 years going through. I haven't been for that long, but we all have some type of struggle we went through. We all have some type of thing that we dealt with, and that's what's going to shape you. And if you are looking for money, your story is what's going to make you the most money. So do not quit. Do not give up. Keep going. I love you guys. That being said, back to you, Paul.
Beautiful words, man. Everything, yep, right in the blueprint. Cater, you're awesome, man. Yeah, go ahead. Who's next?
Good morning, Paul. Dr. Mitchell.
Oh, hey, Dr. Mitchell. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Doing awesome. Glad to hear you today.
Excellent. Hey, I want to do a shout-out for Doc Fran. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be, well, I don't know that for sure, but at least it's because of him I'm on this call and have been for the last few months. And, I'm also part of his team. And I got to tell you, that guy definitely is a model for hard work, diligence, and he having a good attitude. And the one thing that really brings me back into this, getting into the right business, it really, for me, has boiled down to, well, any business. There's so many opportunities, but what makes one different than another, having kind of done what you did, explored a variety of different network marketing companies? Why did I find the one that I found? Well, for two reasons. One, it's a passion of mine. There's a reason that I wake up in the morning and going, what can I do with this business to help change people's lives? And that's what motivates me to get on the call. That's what motivates me to hear those no's and just keep going. It's because there's a passion behind it. And the other thing that has been vital to me gaining in my success manual is having teamwork, reaching out and knowing that I'm not out in the world doing this alone, but I'm sharing this journey with other people who have a similar vision. And to do it this way, to have that team, to have someone like a Doc Brand who's kind of at the helm, who's saying, look, I'm not telling you to go out and do anything I'm not willing to go out and do, just gives me the incentive and the motivation to get up and make those calls, knock on those doors, not be afraid to get a no. Because the two things, the passion and the teamwork. You don't have to do this journey alone. So for that, and for all the inspiration I get on this call as well, I really am grateful to be where I am in this point in my life and looking forward to the future. And to you, my friend, back to you, and to everyone, have a wonderful day.
We love you, and we're grateful you're here, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very wise words. Star 6, who's next?
Doc Fran.
Hey, good morning, Doc.
Well, good morning, everyone. And Mitchell, thank you for those very kind words. And Ben, I absolutely loved your story. Don't show me the money, show me your story. That's a quotable quote on our Think and Grow Rich page, I think. What I want to focus on today, I really learned something amazing in listening to Paul's opening comments, and Paul, I loved it when you coined that phrase, the miracle money story, and I love that phrase. It's such a powerful metaphor. It's such a powerful image. It really does create interest and excitement in anyone who reads it, and that's why it's such a powerful comment on your behalf. But what I learned this morning when I listened to you recount the miracle money story that I experienced yesterday again, but my message this morning is when it just made me understand that my whole life has been a miracle money story. And I really think that it seems to me that everyone on this call, if you do look back over the continuum of your success in life, I think we would all agree that our lives are a compilation of miracle money stories. Back to you, Paul.
Beautiful, Doc. Sure love you, man. Love your example. Thanks for being here. Star 6, who's next?
Hey, Paul, this is John from California.
Hey, good morning, John.
Hey, I've been listening to the call for quite a while. I haven't come out. I really enjoy listening to everybody. It's been very inspiring. But I had to come out this morning and give a shout-out to John Chapman. You inspired me this morning, John. You really did, because I have been struggling a little bit. I haven't been in the business that long, but I have been struggling and kind of wondering. I'm still staying positive, but that inspired me. And then the fellow behind him, I think his name was Ben, that was very inspiring, too. Of course, everybody's inspiring on the call. I really enjoy it. And I just want to say thank you, and thanks to John. I'm a neighbor. I'm right down the way in Mariposa. So anyway, that's all I want to say, and I love the call, and I'm going to stay positive. And a lot of it has to do with what I hear here in the morning, every morning. Thank you, Paul.
John, really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Jim from Denver.
Star 6. Hey, Jim, good morning.
Hey, listen, I've been in the ministry about 35 years, and one of my experiences in the ministry is this: when in doubt, don't, And when I saw that this morning, I thought that is so amazing that I had that idea giving to people that needed some counseling, that Wallace Whittles said the same thing. I have a granddaughter who's about 24, and I was telling her when she graduated from high school that as she dates different men, it will be like reading different authors, that every time she reads a book, she's basically dating the author. And as she reads different books and she becomes more familiar with what her responses are to the different ideas that she's reading, she'll become more aware of who she is and what her core values are. And I said, it's the same way as when you date men. Different men you'll respond to them differently, and you'll become more aware of what's going on in you and how you tick. So anyways, I like the idea of reading different authors, Paul, and I love this call. This call is so awesome every day. Back to you, sir.
Wow. Love it, Jim. Thank you. When in doubt, don't. Another quotable quote for us. Star 6, who's next?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, is that Lindy?
It is Lindy. Good morning, everybody. What a marvelous start to our week. I wouldn't miss this call. Thank you, Paul, for creating this. This has just been a lifeblood for me. And, I've been on over a year now. I've missed very few days. When I first started on this call, I was new to the network marketing business. So I was kind of trying to find my way there. I'd been a webmaster for many, many years, but I never got into the marketing side. And it's a whole different ballgame out there. But one thing that this call has truly lifted me into is understanding my own talents, my own God-given talents, plus the skills that I've exercised and built on top of that, and the value that I have in my knowledge and my abilities to help other people. And I thank you so much for that, because I didn't know my value, and this call has made me realize my value, and I am valuable, and I do have a heart to help, and I want to, whoever God puts in my path, I want to teach them to fish, not give them a fish, but teach them to fish. I used to be a fish giver, and it was all wasted, but anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that, it is to have a mindset with a heart, everything you go into is a win-win-win, and if it's not, don't do it. Lift people up. Don't put stumbling blocks in front of other people because you don't agree with them or they're on a different path, because that's the way this world goes round. Everybody has their part. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Lindy. Awesome as always. Star 6, we've got a few minutes left, about 3. Come on out. I'd love to hear from you.
Paul from Connecticut.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, good morning. Go ahead.
I've been listening for quite a while, and I just thought I'd jump in today. When you said about desire, that's the big thing for me today. Today is I'm celebrating 30 years, to clean. 30 years ago today, and what I'm doing today is desire is the big thing today. I've been clean for 30 years, and every single day, my desire to stay clean is greater than my desire to pick up. And I've been doing that in my businesses and my life. And I'm just listening to everybody speak, and it just brings it out of me, my desires and my gratitude. And my gratitude, I've been listening to you and Doc Fran and everybody for all these periods of time. And I'm just so grateful to be here and be listening to you and the power and the incentive that you people are giving me. I just love you all. Thanks, Paul. I just love to listen to you. Thanks.
Oh, wow. We thank you, and congratulations. Wow. What a testament and example of what can happen in a person's life when they make a decision and stick with that decision and grow in strength every day. Congratulations. That's just such a great example. Thanks for sharing that with us. Star 6, who's next?
Ray in London?
TV. Star 6, anyone else want to jump out here? Yeah.
Oh, listen, Jim, can I say one thing?
Please, yeah.
Everyone has a testimony which goes back to your story. However, you can't have a testimony until you have a money. When you have a money, that becomes part of your testimony.
And what's a money? I'm not sure I understand that.
A money is the struggle that you go through. That's what you moan about.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, you can't have a testimony until you've had a money. And when you start moaning about things, that becomes part of your testimony.
Yeah, got it, man. That's so true. That's why we got to journey. Well, listen, we'll close out here. I want to share with you a poem to close the day, and then we'll get out there and attack the day. I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. Folks, there are some things we need to do in our businesses today, and it is my challenge that we will do them, that we will take action, that we will plow through temporary setbacks, that we will live the Think and Grow Rich philosophy, that will be a light unto the world around us. I love you guys. Get out there, make it a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning on the Think and Grow Rich call. Bye for now.